자, 여러분들 지금 와서 돌이켜보니까는요 2020년 류현진 선수의 일정 스케줄 정말 힘들고 어려운 일정이었습니다. 자, 이번 영상에서는 2020년 류현진 선수의 일정을 돌아보면서 얼마나 힘든 일정이었고 또 그가 어떻게 그러한 힘든 일정을 이겨냈는지 확인을 해보는 시간을 가져보도록 하겠습니다. 안녕하세요 여러분, DKTV의 누구겠습니까? 데니엘 킴입니다. 저 먼저 좋아요, 구독, 알람 설정 다들 해주셨죠? 여러분들은 어떠신지 모르겠습니다만요, 저는 요즘에 포스트 시즌을 보면서 계속 드는 생각이, 야, 이거 류현진 정말 어려운 일정을 치렀구나. 왜냐고요? 마이애미 말린스 보셨죠? 네, 류현진 선수와 두 차례 만났고, 그리고 템파베이 레이스, 빼놓을 수 없는 그러한 팀 아니겠습니까? 류현진 선수 정규 시즌에서 두 차례 만났고요, 뉴욕 양키스도 두 차례 만났고, 솔직히 우리가 올 시즌 시작하기 전에 알동부 이야기 얼마나 많이 했습니까? 그런데 이게 단순히 알동부가 아니라 지금 와서 생각해보면요, 내셔널리그 동부지구도 상당히 어려운, 투수에게는 그러한 디비전이 아니었을까, 저는 그런 느낌을 지울 수가 없거든요. 여러분들, 저는 솔직히 올 시즌 코로나19 때문에 아메리칸 리그 동부뿐만이 아니라 내셔널리그 동부를 상대하게 된다, 저는 좋은 소식인 줄 알았어요. 왜냐? 마이애미 말린스도 있고 뉴욕 매츠도 있고, 아니 그런데 여러분들 아시다시피 마이애미 말린스 같은 경우는 돌풍을 일으켰던 팀 중에 하나였고, 시카고 컵스를 와일드카드 시리즈에서 누르고, 그리고 디비전 시리즈 아틀란타 브레이브스에게 지긴 했습니다만은 상당히 어려운 팀이었습니다. 그리고 뉴욕 매츠 같은 경우에는 가을 야구 진출하는 데는 실패하긴 했습니다만은 메이저리그 전체 팀 타율 1위 했던 팀이 바로 뉴욕 매츠거든요. 그리고 여러분들 기억하고 계시죠? 류현진 선수의 올 시즌 첫 승 상대 아틀란타 브레이브, 이번에 내셔널리그 챔피언십 시리즈 진출을 확정지었던 팀이었습니다. 자, 가만히 한번 봅시다. 아틀란타 브레이브스, 마이애미 말린스, 뉴욕 양키스, 템파베이 레이스, 거기다가 메이저리그 팀 타율 전체 1위 뉴욕 매츠, 이 정도의 일정이면요 정말 어려운 일정이 아닌가, 저는 그렇게 생각을 하거든요. 알동부 하면서 우리가 생각했던 팀들은 뉴욕 양키스, 그리고 보스턴 레드삭스. 아니 그런데 올 시즌 보스턴 레드삭스는 정말 정말 힘든 시즌을 보내지 않았습니까? 그나마 올 시즌 일정을 봤었을 때 보스턴 레드삭스 같은 경우에 조금 쉽게 넘어갈 수 있는 상대다라고 생각할 수 있었겠죠. 하지만 한 가지 재밌는 게, 올 시즌 류현진 선수 같은 경우에는요 보스턴 레드삭스를 상대하지 못했어요. 그나마 좀 쉽게 넘어갈 수 있었던 상대가 보스턴 레드삭스가 아니었을까 싶었는데, 올 시즌 류현진 선수는 아쉽게도 보스턴 레드삭스를 상대하지 못하게 됐습니다. 자, 그렇다면 전체적인 기본적인 기록을 좀 먼저 확인을 해보도록 하겠습니다. 자, 올 시즌 류현진 선수 5할 이상 기록한 팀 상대 7경기 선발 등판 경기가 있었고요, 5할 미만은 5경기, 팀 성적이 좋았던 팀들을 더 많이 만났던 일정이 바로 류현진 선수의 일정이었고요. 자, 류현진 선수 올 시즌 승률 5할 이상 기록했던 팀들을 상대로 3승 무패, 그리고 평균 자책점 2.56을 기록했고요. 그리고 5할 미만 기록했던 팀들을 상대로는 2승 2패, 평균 자책점 2.86을 기록을 했습니다. 즉, 가을 야구한 팀들, 강팀들을 상대로 더 좋은 기록을 남긴 선수가 바로 류현진 선수이다라고 보시면 될 것 같고요. 그런데 말이죠, 또 한 가지 정말 재밌는 기록이 있거든요. 이게 좀 이해가 안 되는 기록이기는 합니다만은, 올 시즌 류현진 선수가 승률 5할 이상 기록한 팀들을 상대로 기록한 피안타율이 1할 8푼 1입니다. 거의 언히터블 수준이 아닌가, 저는 그렇게 생각을 하고 있는데, 반면 5할 이상을 기록하지 못한 팀, 즉 가을 야구에 진출하지 못한 팀들을 상대로는 피안타율이 3할 1리를 기록했거든요. 강한 팀들을 상대로는 거의 언히터블 수준이었습니다만은, 무슨 이유였는지 모르겠습니다만은 아마 시즌 초반에 워싱턴 내셔널스를 만났던 게 가장 큰 이유가 아닐까 싶은데, 자, 일단 피안타율 3할 1리를 기록했습니다. 저는 이게 바로 에이스의 모습이 아닌가 싶거든요. 강팀들을 상대로 정말 훌륭한 성적을 남겼던 선수가 류현진 선수이기 때문에, 여러분들 다시 한번 말씀을 드리자면요, 마이애미 말린스 2번 만났죠, 템파베이 레이스 2번 만났죠, 뉴욕 양키스 2번 만났죠. 여러분들 이게 쉬운 일정이라고 보십니까? 저는 그렇게 생각하지 않거든요. 거기다가 여러분들 또 홈구장이 어디였죠? 버팔로 세일랜드 필드, 정말 타자들, 아니 투수들에게는 무덤 같은 그러한 구장 아니겠습니까? 그런데 올 시즌 류현진 선수가 버팔로 세일랜드 필드에서 2승 무패, 평균 자책점 2.10을 기록했습니다. 저는 2점대 평균 자책점, 그것도 버팔로에서, 저는 기적에 가까운 그러한 기록이 아닌가 싶거든요. 여러분들 버팔로에서 치러진 경기 다들 보셔서 아시겠습니다만은, 이 뜬공 나오면은 가슴이 철렁하는 곳이 바로 또 버팔로 세일랜드 필드 아니겠습니까? 자, 올 시즌 류현진 선수가 총 12번의 선발 등판 경기가 있었는데, 그중 7경기는 포스트 시즌 진출에 성공한 팀들이다. 그리고 여러분들, 우리가 한 가지 확실하게 결론을 내릴 수 있는 부분은, 류현진 선수는 강팀을 상대로 오히려 더 강했다. 즉, 올 시즌 가을 야구에 진출한 팀들을 상대로는 거의 언히터블이었다라고, 그렇게 우리가 결론을 내릴 수 있지 않을까 싶습니다. 물론 와일드카드 2차전 결과가 너무나도 좋지 못했기 때문에 좀 아쉬운 엔딩이었기는 합니다만은, 일단 정규 시즌에서만큼은 저는 류현진 선수가 에이스다운 피칭, 에이스가 여러분들 뭐겠습니까? 강한 팀들을 확실하게 잡고 가는 그러한 투수가 에이스 투수 아니겠습니까? 자, 여러분들은 요즘 포스트 시즌 요즘에는 메이저리그 포스트 시즌 재밌게 보고 계시는지 모르겠습니다만은 뭐 마이애미 말린스를 봐도 그렇고 아틀란타 브레이브스를 봐도 그렇고 템파베이 레이스 그리고 뉴욕 양키스의 포스트 시즌 경기를 봐도 그렇고 류현진 선수가 정말 힘든 일정이었구나. 저는 그 느낌을 지울 수가 없었거든요. 뭐 알동부 걱정들 많이 하셨을 것 같은데 알동부뿐만이 아니라 늘동부까지 뭐 점령하는 그런 피칭을 보여줬다라고 그렇게 우리가 이야기할 수 있지 않을까 싶습니다. 자, 여러분들의 의견 궁금하니까는요 밑에 댓글란에 올려주시고요. 유튜브로 보고 계신 분들은 구독 버튼 눌러주시고요. DKTV는요 야구 상담소로 찾아뵙도록 하겠습니다.
All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. The season ended abruptly. Things are wrapping up. Just write an article which caught my attention. You gave Hyunjin Ryu A+. When was the last time you gave a player an A+?
For the Blue, it's been a long time. But I mean, I think Ryu had an outstanding season. You know, obviously nobody wanted it to end the way that it did. Those games happened, and it happened at a really high-profile time. But I mean, he was everything that the Blue Jays needed from him this year. I don't think that they should have any regrets about making that deal. I think they should feel great about who he is and who he's going to be for them in the future. And he was a pleasure to watch. He's I mean, as you know, I'm personally I'm just a fan of a guy who doesn't necessarily have overpowering stuff but still makes it work. And I mean, he's as good as anybody at doing that. You know, it's just a wide array of pitches that he can command every single one of them and keep everybody off balance. And it's really remarkable to watch. And I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to getting to watch him for the next 3 years after this.
Okay. His first couple of starts weren't all that great. He didn't come out of the gate like an ace. And obviously, from his third start and on, he put together really impressive stretch. What were your first initial reaction after first couple of games when he didn't look all that impressive?
You know, I wasn't too concerned. I mean, I knew the background. I knew what he'd done in LA, and also just because it was such a strange situation, right? And he's a guy who is dependent on routines, and it was such an abrupt start or the restart in July or summer camp or whatever, and it was just a strange moment for everybody. So I think I was willing, and I think most of my audience and most people I would say that I remember reading at the time, you know, were willing to give him some time and not be too concerned by those starts. But it was definitely good that he turned it around relatively quickly and it didn't, you know, become a narrative for the rest of the season.
The most impressive game by Hyunjin this year? Would it have to be the Yankee game?
Yankees game there in late September when, you know, the Jays really didn't want to go into Baltimore with still not having a playoff spot locked down. And he was great. I don't think it was his biggest strikeout game of the year, but you know, you could probably put other games up against it. But that one for me was just the moment was so huge and important for them. You know, the Yankees are just such a good ball club. Obviously, he just did his thing like they weren't even there. It was great.
I remember at that time, Fangraph had the Blue Jays 98.2% locked in terms of postseason berth. But I was hoping that maybe they could kind of slow him down a little bit at the Yankee game because the real season starts when the postseason starts. So what was your thinking? Do you think they made the right decision letting him pitch?
They did push him pretty hard there. I mean, I think it was, you know, his longest outing or his most pitches of the season. And then to have him sort of come up feeling a little bit sore afterwards was not great. And then we saw what happened in the playoffs. So maybe they could have handled that a little bit better. I mean, obviously, I think you're absolutely right that the playoff odds at that point were still incredibly high, but I think that they were really motivated to get it locked down properly and to not risk it slipping it anyway, and he was the best option to do that, obviously. So I get it. Maybe he didn't need to go for as long as he did. It was a bit of a statement just to have it, you know, to get him ready and to have him lined up so that he couldn't get it looked like he wouldn't be able to get an extra day rest before he pitched in the playoffs. But of course, they shuffled things around a little bit and moved him back. Yeah, I was fine with that. I was fine with the way that they set up the rotation in the playoffs. It obviously didn't really work out very well, though. The Matt Shoemaker and Robbie Ray pitched really well in Game 1. But yeah, I think the criticism of the way they handled him there in that last start was definitely fair. And we saw what they did. You know, Taiwan Walker pitched like 2-3 innings in his last start. It would have been nice for Ryu to just sort of get a taste and then make way for somebody else and maybe save his arm a little bit. Yeah.
What do you think is in store for Toronto Blue Jays this upcoming off season? Are they gonna go and get another pitcher? I mean, I read your article. You had some tough grades in there. What do you think is our Ross Atkins' priorities coming in the offseason?
Yeah, I think he would probably call it run prevention because there's definitely defensive improvements they can make, but it's hard. You know, you look around the diamond, like their outfield is not great defensively, but they like those bats and they like those guys, and they're at a good stage in their contracts. And one idea that I'm working on a piece for is go out and get an elite shortstop maybe is a way to do it, and move Bo Bichette to second, and there's ways to improve defensively there. But I think the pitching is also obviously going to be something that they look to. Like they showed how much they value pitching at the way that they added guys at the trade deadline. Picked up like 3 starters basically. Only Ross Stripling is back, so there's definitely going to be a hole in the rotation, multiple ones probably. And then just the nature of pitchers is that you can never have enough because they're always getting hurt. So I think that they're definitely going to look in that area. They're going to hope that Tanner Roark pitches better than he did this year, which he's capable of, which he's done before. They'll definitely start looking probably on the pitching market as well. Yeah, I mean, I think you can get creative with the defensive stuff for sure. But if I was to say that they're going to make one big acquisition, it would probably be a starting pitcher again.
Do you have a better read on the ownership group with the Blue Jays? You obviously know the front office, how they work. Are they going to open up a wallet again? Do they have financial resources? Do you think they also have the willingness to kind of go out and spend some more money this offseason?
I think so. I think it's a good time. I think they should take advantage because the ownership, Mark Shapiro is the club president, was on radio in Toronto last week calling it the strongest ownership in baseball. It's a multi-billion-dollar media and technology company, so they're not short for cash. It's really always about the willingness. The Jays rely more heavily maybe than any team on revenue from the ballpark. There's a chance that Rogers, which the company could choose not to spend, and could choose to point to the pandemic and the lack of revenue as a reason not to spend, but it seems like there are better reasons to think that they will. And just having spent the money on Ryu last year, where they are in the cycle, the fact that they could take advantage of the fact that other teams will have more reasonable cases to not spend, I think puts them in a really good position. They could really go and flex their financial muscle and have a really special off season. That's just something that here in Toronto is kind of like, we'll believe it when we see it. But that's what happened last year. I don't think anybody expected Ryu to end up with the Blue Jays, and it was a really exciting moment when he did. And so hopefully there's another one like that in store this year, because with him in place, with the young core around him, with what they did this season, the time is to start really going for it, I think.
Do you think Hyunjin will do better next year? Hopefully we could have a normal season with normal spring training without any kind of a shutdown or interruptions. Obviously he's going to be a year older, but what's your outlook on Hyunjin for 2021?
Yeah, I mean better. It's hard to do better than what he's done this year and what he did last year, right?
Right.
I mean, definitely watching the velocity, which is a thing with any pitcher who's older. That was something that really set off alarm bells at the start of the playoff game, because if you looked at it, I was tweeting about this. If you just look at his average four-seamer velocity by game, the 2 lowest were his 2 worst starts of the year. So it's like, okay, when he can give a little bit extra on that fastball, it just makes a huge difference. And we know what happens with pitchers as they get older. That's not as easy to maintain, but obviously he's also a guy who doesn't live and die by his velocity. Like, he can do so many other things, and I'm sure can figure out ways, if it is diminished at all going forward, to still be incredibly effective. But better, I don't think so. If he's healthy, then he's going to be great, and the Blue Jays are going to be happy to have him.
Okay. Postseason again next season for the Blue Jays?
I think so. Hopefully in Toronto, and hopefully not in Buffalo again. But
Right.
I'm not sure. The country to our south, we're still a little nervous about opening up the border just yet.
Yeah, right. All right, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your work, and I'm going to be following you around because you have all the latest update, and thank you so much for your time.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, man.